Hello, I'm Bob the Bookerer and welcome to my channel. And so here we are at time of recording a couple of days after the Eurovision Grand Final. And as people who have maybe been following for a little bit may know, I love Eurovision. It's one of my favourite times of the year. And last year I did a little reading challenge for myself that was based on the top 10 of the results from the evening. And I wanted to do the same again this year because I found it a really fun exercise and a really great way of learning a bit more about other literature around Europe and sort of other participating countries. And particularly realizing just how poorly read I was for other parts of Europe. Like, it's one of those sort of wild things where you sort of suddenly realize, if someone's like, hey, so what's a good Danish author? You're like, do I know any? Do I read books? Have I ever read any books ever? And so that's sort of part of what is going into this. So there are a couple that I've already chosen for what I might do, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on potential books for some of these countries. Generally speaking as well, obviously feel free to please take part yourself if you want to. Do as much or as little as you want. There is absolutely no time pressure on this as well. I think last year I was reading some of them right up until the end of the year. But I thought it might be a fun way to kind of explore a few other books from across Europe and go from there. So let me quickly run through the ones I've got so far, and we'll go from there. So with the top 10 as it was, we've got a good range of countries here, and many countries where I don't think I've read anything from that country before. So Sweden, Finland, Israel, Italy, Norway, Ukraine, Belgium, Estonia, Australia, and Czechia make up the top 10. And so I'm intrigued to try and read books from those countries. So far, the ones that I've got in place in my head that I really want to try and read. So Israel, I've been meaning to read A Horse Walks into a Bar by David Grossman for a really long time. So that's on the list to read. There is also, let's have a little look through, Ukraine. There is a selection that's come out recently called Queer Ukraine, which is just writings of LGBTQ people in Ukraine, particularly to do with the war. So really, really intrigued to read that book. For Estonia, I had a quick look because, again, one of those things where I don't think I've ever read any Estonian authors before. And I found two different Jaans. Jaan Kaplinski was the one whose book I was able to find in English. And so that is a collection of his poetry, which I'm really excited by. And for Australia, I am going to be reading Oscar and Lucinda by Peter Carey, which has been sat on my shelf for far too long, and also is a book winner, and so there's that. So those are the four that I know of so far, but I would really love to hear from you about some potential authors from Sweden, Finland, Italy, Norway, Belgium, and Czechia, all of which, some of those I've read books by before. And actually the weird advantage of doing this year on year is that there are lots of good Swedish, basically Sweden comes up a lot in the top 10, and probably will continue to do so for a while. So I will end up reading probably a lot of Swedish literature over time. But please, any suggestions in the chat. I'll see as well what I can, in the comments, I'll see what I can find from my library, or kind of that I can maybe buy. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. And obviously for other people in watching and looking at the comments, that's also hopefully a good little potential reading list of some books that you might want to check out as well, from those countries. So please, any thoughts would be greatly appreciated. Last year for Sweden, I ended up reading an Elderly Lady is Up to No Good series, which was a real delight. I read a couple of, is it Tarjei, the Norwegian author whose name I've now completely, Vasas, I think his surname is, completely imagining a name now, like The Ice Palace, I think was one of his books, and a few others, and that was a really great experience. And just really intrigued. So any suggestions, any thoughts would be much appreciated. And feel free to join in if you want as well. Again, zero pressure. And I almost now don't know what to do with all the sort of Eurovision energy that is sort of from about January. I get really into the mood. It's almost like the day after Christmas where you're like, okay, cool. So I've got all these things to do and I need to tidy the house. And that's much less exciting than Christmas actually was. So I'm in that little sort of hangover period from Eurovision. I hope you're doing well out there, and I hope you enjoyed seeing the final as well. I was rooting for Finland and Croatia and a few other people. Serbia was really fun as well. So many great songs. Spain, France, so many great songs. Anyway, talk to you all soon. Please do give me any suggestions that you've got, and or feel free to just browse through these suggestions in the comments and have those as a bit of a sort of space to see some more. But yeah, I've been Bob the Booker. Talk to you all soon and take care. Bye bye.